Hello, and welcome to my tutorial series on how to use C# in Unity. In this video, we're going to be learning the very basics of functions and multiple ways in which we can use them. Let's begin. So let's start by opening our C# script that we've been using. And a function is basically a self-contained piece of code that is used to perform a task. And in fact, we have two functions already here. We have our start function and our update function. And these are used to run code for different tasks. The start function is specifically for, as it says right here, is called before the first frame update. And the update function, as it says here, is called once per frame. And these are the specific tasks that these functions perform. And right up here, it says void. And so void basically means that there is no return. So what that means is that it's going to perform all the code in between the brackets, and that's it. And as we'll see later, we can actually input variables or other things and they will return something. So let's start by just typing a piece of code here in the start function. So we're going to put debug.log and we're just going to put testing here, and we're going to end it with a semicolon. Now let's say we don't necessarily want to type all our code here in the start function, and a lot of times you won't, because you'll end up with this huge amount of code in your start function or your update function, and it's going to get a little messy. So functions are very good for organizing things. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function outside of those two functions, and we're going to just simply put private void, and we're going to name this, and we'll just call this tutorial for now, and we're going to put a parentheses and a curly bracket. So they're pretty much just like these are set up. Here we have void. In this case I put private void. It's not necessary. And here are the names of the functions. This one is called start, this one is called update, and I named this one tutorial. And here is where we would pass through other information, but we're not doing that right now. So we're going to take this and we're just going to cut it, and we're going to paste it in here like this, and now the code is here. So now what we want to do is we want to be able to activate or call this function inside our start function. So, and it's easy as just writing the name of the function, a parentheses, and a semicolon. So now when the start function begins, it will call this function and it will run this code. So let's hit save. Let's go back into Unity. Let's let it compile. Let's hit play. And right here, we just had the word testing. And if we take this function and we go ahead, we can just copy and paste this. Control C, Control V. Now we're going to save it, and it will run in both our start and update functions. So we're just going to hit that right there to stop it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to show how to pass data through a function. So right here in tutorial, I'm just going to put the word num. Actually, I'm going to put int num. You have to make sure to put what sort of variable you're declaring here. And in here, I'm just going to put num. And right in here, actually, I'm not going to use the update one. We'll just use this one up here, and let's just use the number 10. So basically here, I said in the argument here that there's going to be an integer and it's going to be num. So whatever integer I type here is going to be assigned num or to num. And then I can use num in my function however I'd like, any way that I can use an integer. So in this case, we're just going to print num. And let's just add some things to this. Let's just say copy and let's paste. And we'll say this one is going to be num, and we'll say times 2. So this one should be 10 and this one should be 20. So let's go ahead and, go ahead and hit save. Let's go back into Unity. Let's clear this out. Let's hit play. So now I have 10 and now I have 20 because that is what I passed through here using this integer. So earlier I talked about how when we put void, it doesn't return anything. So now I'm going to show you how functions return things, like return integers. So right here, I'm going to put int a is going to equal our function. or the return of our function. And up here, excuse me, down here, we're actually just going to put int, and we're going to leave this right here, and we're going to change this to return num, and we'll put it times 2. And then semicolon at the end. So up here, I'm saying in the start function, there's going to be an integer. Oh, wait, actually, I'm missing this. So we got to put debug.log, and then it's going to print a. All right. So now what I'm saying is I'm declaring an integer called a, and a is going to equal the return of this function. And this function right here, this means that it's going to return an integer. And that integer is going to be based upon what I put here in the argument. I can make this anything. It could be 10, 5, or 2. So it's going to pass through this 10 into here, and then it's going to return num times 2. And what it returns is this integer. Then I'm saying underneath it, when that's all done, when this entire function is executed, we're going to take a and we're going to put it into our console. We're going to put it into our log function, or I'm sorry, window. So let's hit save. Go back to Unity. Let it load. Let's clear this out. Let's hit play. And here it did exactly what we wanted. Actually, it showed the same two numbers before. Maybe I'll change them up to show a difference. Let's change. Did I shut off this here? Let's shut this off and change the numbers because I already used those numbers. So let's use a different number. Let's just use 5 this time. We're going to hit save just so you could see it calculated. I'm going to hit play. And now down here, as you can see, it printed 5 because it just printed out 5. And that came down here from the function itself. That's what we told it to do. And then we said we wanted to return num times 2, which is 10. And then it passed it through. And then it just printed 10 down here. And the last thing I'm going to show you is that you can pass multiple variables into a function. So right here, I just have this one integer right here, this one variable. And now I want 2 of them. So I'm going to create two integers. One's going to be called num. One's going to be called num2. And up here, I'm going to put 5 and I'm going to put comma 3. And so this goes in order. Whatever the first integer here is what's going to go into this spot, into the first integer, and whatever integer this is going to go into the second spot. And these are going to be passed through our function. Just get rid of this. It's not really useful. So now I'm going to pass through the 5 and 3 into the function, and I'm going to say return num times num2. And so it's going to be returned, and this is the integer it's going to return, and that's going to be used to be placed. Actually, that's going to be the result of the function, which is going to be assigned to A, and then A is going to be printed out into our debug console. So let's hit save. Let's go back into Unity. Nope, I gotta shut it. Just make sure everything's saved here. Let's go back into Unity, hit play. And there we go. 5 times 3 is 15, which is what we wanted to be returned. So as always, thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and support me on Patreon. And a very big thank you to all my Patreon supporters. See you next time.